Hey everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it's time for...
This ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't no fooling around. Unspun.
No fooling around, man. We only got a couple minutes here. Clearly, I'm not in my usual environment.
I know, it's crazy. And you know, my little song references the nuttiness that is Vancouver politics. Seriously, it's like, what a week.
What's happening? It looks like a war zone on Hastings. And then,
Oh, well, there's that. And then John Cooper bailing. So let's talk first about, let's talk about John Cooper first.
Okay.
Because I think that came a shocker to me. I think it was a shocker to everybody. And I think it's really shows some holes in the NPA plan. I think John had the most confidence to pull it off. But clearly his plan has failed, and he couldn't, for whatever reason. I think the board and him did not see eye to eye, which is no surprise given that board drove away, almost every councillor except for Melissa DeGenova. So, here we now have a landscape that's changed significantly in a way, but maybe not in a way. I still don't think it changes the outcome.
Can I pop in on John Cooper and when it all went down? I ended up having a conversation with him before the news broke, before the release went out, and he is, Mr. High Road. He could be saying, I think, a lot more that you and I have sort of dug around and nosed around, and more to come on that as we confirm a few things. But quality human, quality man, and oftentimes when we hear the just going to spend some more time with family, there's more to that story for sure. And you and I have talked, classic, right? But you and I have talked about some of the issues with regard to the board at the NPA, and you put my mind at ease that the board is very separate from, and yet there are so many things that are starting to appear like maybe there's something more to this. So we'll stay on top of it as we count down. Right.
I think, given what I know what happened last time, the board was very intrusive in the election campaign. And I think that maybe hasn't changed. And I think generally in an election campaign with a political party, there's a party administration, and then there's the campaign. They are completely separate bodies. Generally, and I'm not talking about the NPA. This is all political campaigns. Generally, the campaign team comes in. It's the candidates' team. They bring in their people that they have experience with, that know what they're doing, and they know how to help that person win. They are given all the power to do whatever they need to do, whether it be fundraising, advertising, all that stuff. The boards of these organizations are supposed to sit back and just go, okay, we've laid the groundwork for our party to win, and here we've chosen this person now through usually a democratic process, and now we'll let them go and see what they do. Whether that happened or not, I don't think it did with John. I don't know, but I think it seems like he wouldn't leave. I don't think because of it is tough. I know that it is tough in your family, and it's exhausting politics. Believe me, that's part of one of the reasons.
Especially if all those pieces that you just explained aren't in place the way they need to be 100%. In order to be successful. You referenced last week how sort of the play here for everything is the equation's adding up to the incumbent retaking the mayoral office, and some speculate, there's been some pretty wide speculation since John announced that he is no longer running for mayor, that this actually plays into Colleen Hardwick's camp a little bit, but incumbency matters is what you say on your Twitter.
Yes, and we still don't know if NPA is going to run a candidate, which, of course, will siphon more votes away from the right-leaning side of the voting spectrum. It's really where the centrists are going to land in Vancouver, as usual, that mushy middle that we talk about all the time here. Where are they going to put their vote? When they go into that voting booth, are they going to say, yeah, Colleen is the person for me? Is Mark Marison the person for me? Is Ken Sim the guy? Or is it Kennedy-Stewart when there's no other choices and you have an NDP mayor, basically, who's being pro-business and pro-development. So he's certainly not anti-business as far as his decisions in council over the last 4 years, as compared to, say, Colleen Hardwick, ironically, who would be seen as center-right, has been against many developments in the city, or abstained. Whatever. Abstained.
You know what? Can you just speak to that? Because you got rolled a little on Twitter on the back and forth. on Colleen Hardwick's record with regard to what she did and
Mhm.
did not vote for or against, and how
Or
many
was not
times she
there.
did. Right.
I mean, just not show up for the tough votes, that is speaks volumes from my point of view from leadership. And to abstain is a vote in support. So just vote in favor of it. What are you afraid of? To me, I just think it's weak. It's weak. I don't care who you are. I think to abstain, to recuse, to leave the room because you have a conflict, 100%. I did that 3 or 4 times when I was in
Right.
office. I
That's
never
different.
abstained. And I took the heat when I had voted against because and I believe me, I took a lot of heat for a lot of things. Some of them were developments that maybe funders that of the NPA were really mad at me, and I said, but the project doesn't make sense. The support's not there, and there's this and this and this wrong with it. I don't think I can support it. So I think but I took the heat, and I took the heat on the other side too on other issues,
But you
and
take the
Colleen's
heat, George,
taken.
and that's how you and I actually met, because you would take the heat and then you would show up and explain yourself, which I think is something that's
Right.
kind of lost in where we're at now. There's this sort of, this
Mm-hmm.
is what we did, and then somebody closes their mouth and tosses away the key. You would actually
Yeah.
step forward and say, here's why I voted against it, or here's why I
Mm-hmm.
voted for it. And I think we need more of that. And you know what else we need more of, if I may? We need more presence of our leaders, and to stop campaigning from the second that they're, elected into office, and actually do something. And we are
Yeah.
seeing an explosion of violence and upheaval and frightened people that have nowhere to go, clashing with police who are frustrated by the fact that here it lands in their lap again because there
Mm-hmm.
has been no action taken. You've been calling for action on many levels, whether it be Oppenheimer, Crab Park, Strathcona, or the tent city along Hastings Street. Like, what we witnessed down there in the last couple of days has really been not just troubling, but frightening on a new level.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, I have some good sources at City Hall. What happened on the first day of this cleanup. If anybody has had a horrible chance to see what happens, what the downtown Eastside has turned into over the last several years. It's been going on for a long time, but the last couple of years it's made it even worse, and especially since
Brutal.
we've pushed
And yeah.
the campers out of the parks. They've now sort of set up tents on Hastings Street in Vancouver, which is the original downtown of the city, and now became where it's Poverty Row, whatever we call it. It's just like if you're American, you would call it a slum. It's
You would, or
just a
ghetto.
ghetto
That is
or
the
whatever.
term. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the term.
And it's tragic. And in behind, there's all these tents on the sidewalk. In behind all these tents is empty retail that's now been turned into facilities for all these people who are on the street. So there's like grocery stores, like they're free food, free furniture, free everything. Absolutely, these people are in very dire straits. But it became like it's like a magnet. And the city for many years, this is not new, have been complacent in the way it used to work is they would say in the morning they'd come and they see a tent somewhere, whether it be in a park or on a sidewalk, and engineering staff would go up and say, "You can't be here. You gotta let's pack it up. Let me help you
Moving
pack it
along.
up. Let's
Yeah.
move it along. You can't be here. They let them. We've always let them sleep on the sidewalks or wherever overnight, but in the morning, generally the way it used to work in the parks and on the streets was that you just can't be here all day in front of this doorstep. I have a guy that sleeps in my doorstep almost every night.
He
And
opens the
in the
door for me
morning,
when I come in to record.
yeah, exactly. His name's
He's very
Kevin, and
nice.
he
Yeah. Hi,
sleeps.
Kevin.
He's got good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But we come in and say, hey, Kevin, you can't be. We have people coming in, and my staff, and can you just? And he eventually gets up and moves along. If you're
Yeah.
kind to him and explain the situation, that's the way it used to work. So now, for whatever reason, whether it was Vision Vancouver's complacent attitude, which they definitely were, they were open. They kind of didn't want to push the envelope, and I think they pushed that through to staff. Maybe there were staff people previously, but I think that there is this. Looking at what's happening, what happened that day. So this is 2 days ago. There was 2 things that were happening. It was the starting day of this to clean up this thing, to start helping these people move because the fire department had said there had been 1,000 fires
Yeah.
on this one block, 2
Crazy.
block.
Yeah.
And so the fire department said, you have to move to the city of Vancouver. You need to remove these tents. You can't, this is not safe. We can't even get to the fire hydrants. There was a fire in a building and the firefighters couldn't find the plug-in for their hose to put the fire out. And they said, this is not safe. Okay, you talk about human rights of the people on the street. Sure, but what about the human rights of the people inside the building? If people had died inside that building because we couldn't get to them, whose human rights are we talking about then? Shouldn't they be all human rights? And so I think that you need to. So the police, the city took this very seriously. Finally, and 2 days ago they began it. It's a little slower. It's a complicated process. They literally are taking pictures, staff, of all of the things that these people say they own. So they have these tents that have been there months. They've got all this stuff, and staff are taking pictures of them and they're filing because they're providing free storage. They can't
Bins,
provide
yep.
homes.
Bins and storage.
Yeah. Bin storage. We'll put them away. We're taking pictures of every single thing so that when the person comes, they can, if anything gets lost, they will replace it. Whether they ever come back for their stuff or not, it's hard to say, but they're doing this and this takes time. So that started 2 days ago, this process, but simultaneously, a whole craziness happened inside with the Carnegie Center, madness. And there was an attack on the police. And that appears the police maybe overreacted. And they put there was 50 police officers and they cut off the streets and it looked very dramatic,
it looked very military. It did.
Very military. And it was kind of 100% separate to what was going on 2 blocks away. Meanwhile, the engineering staff are just over there
doing their
on
thing,
the side streets, doing their thing, helping these people, cleaning up. But over here, there's this chaos. And so the two were connected, which they're not connected. And so it's unfortunate because I think that the staff are doing what I've always said. You just got to move these people along. And now it's going to take a long time because there's a lot of them down there. They got a lot of stuff. As I said, they're taking pictures. They're being very careful. They're being respectful. I tweeted that out to Sarah Blythe, who's very active down there, and she didn't respond to this one way. I said, well, how is it today? Because she was very angry about the first day.
Yeah,
I think she was connecting the two. A lot of people were. Yeah. But when I said
she's very frustrated, there's no question. Yeah,
but I think that staff, and I think her people, like the people that she's working with down there and herself, they are actually working together with staff. And I don't get a sense that there's rage happening over there. They don't have homes for all these people. And BC Housing sent out a press release saying, we don't have homes for everybody. Sorry. But these are, homeless. They can remain homeless, which sucks, but they just can't remain homeless on that sidewalk and encroaching onto the street, making it impossible for firefighters to get into the building, but also putting lives in danger on the street, including the people who are in those tents. So it's a complicated process. And I think the staff have the right attitude. And I think for the long term, just to finish, this will be a continued, I hope, process that will go back to what we used to have, which was move along. You can't stay on the sidewalk. 7 a.m. now, time to move your tent out. I think that we're going to see that. And this is not coming from the politicians. I don't think this is not coming from a directive from Kennedy-Stewart. This is thanks to the fire department saying, you got to do this. And then staff going, let's do it.
Let me jump in here. 2 things. Number one, my battery's going to die on my laptop. Bad planning. I'm away, as you can see.
That's okay.
Not in my usual. But so if I go away, you can continue to answer and wrap up the podcast because we're doing this abridged version. I want to know, where is the mayor? Where when you keep saying staff, police, and they're Sandy Garacino, who I really respect and love, but that's just it, George. Thank you. Where is?
How come I can explain it?
Mayor,
and he can't. He should have explained it. These are 2 different things. Yeah. Staff are down here doing this thing. This is an incident that was, maybe there was a slightly overreaction,
right?
But this was happening. Here's here. What's happening. This is happening here.
But he could have stepped forward and said, but all I've seen from him on the Downtown Eastside is him posing in front of some graffiti with a well-known, advocate. That's it.
Yep.
It's a photo op. That's a photo op and a press release and a strongly worded letter. And if I see another photo op, press release, strongly worded letter combination, but I'm prepared to give this particular politician props just for doing his job. Just show up. Just do something.
Yeah,
leave it better than you found it. If this is the end of your term as mayor, which it might be, might not be, might be reelected, maybe, but do something because this is abysmal. I wrote that
column 2 years ago saying his Achilles heel is the tent cities. And people said, you guys are so wrong about that. Ha ha. This is his Achilles heel. These tents, whether they be in parks or on the sidewalks, and the fact that he didn't come out and speak in a way that was clear and showed leadership, that's going to hurt him. But is it going to hurt him enough? I don't know. I think this split in the right, I just don't see a path to victory for any of the other people on the right side of the spectrum. I think it's a split vote.
It should be a folding of tents. It should be a folding of tents on the right. There should be 2, maybe 3 total representatives running for mayor. So this city can get
like New York. Do a runoff.
And have 2
candidates.
What, George? That is a fantastic idea. But you can't because of the Vancouver Charter.
Well, the provincial government decides how these things happen, but yeah, there could be a runoff. That would be interesting. I think you see political parties popping up everywhere now in municipal politics, and so we're going to see this problem happening where there's going to be multiple parties and chaos. Surrey's happening. We've got parties in New Westminster now. You're going to see this happening. I think it's partly in regards to the financial changes to election and financial reform. That's why these parties are starting up. So the days of independence are dead. Clearly, there are no independents running of significance in this election campaign in Vancouver or anywhere, except for maybe Brad West, but who
did announce
he did announce this week. What a shocker!
I wonder if anybody's going to run against Brad West. Do we know if anybody's running against Brad West?
Oh, what? He had 85% of the vote last time.
I know.
Why bother?
I know.
I mean, seriously. Although the big rumor is I hear that Coquitlam, whether or not that Mayor Stewart will be running again, and that will be interesting. I would say that Craig Hodge, who's got the most points or votes in the last election as a councillor, will likely be the candidate. There's an example of a city that also works really closely together as a council. They don't have that kind of political silliness that we see in Vancouver and Surrey. They really are. They're like a board of directors, and that's a good example. I think you look at even though they're smaller towns, we need to start looking at those communities and see how they operate and think about how come they're so effective at getting things done in their communities, because they're not playing politics all the time. You got 4 years, play politics in the last year, work together for 4 years.
Please.
But that's not going to happen because party politics. So whatever happens this election, you're still going to have 2 or 3 parties, and you're going to see the same BS. The only way it won't happen is if one party, like Vision, dominates, and so the other parties, like when I was there, I'm just, hello, can anybody hear me? That's and they got their job done that they wanted done, and that's effective administration. But it's not the best democracy. But hey, you vote them out, and that's what happened. They're gone now. Vision doesn't exist. So really, I mean, okay, there's a couple people, but really, it's gone.
Yeah,
you got to go.
Well,
going.
I got to go, but I mean, there's so much we could talk about. So let's reset for next week. unspunpodcast.com is where you subscribe to this. It comes straight to your email inbox. If you should decide you need a little bit more Jody and George in your life, you can follow George. I keep referencing your Twitter. It's so active, and I really do enjoy you on social media. George _Affleck, George _Affleck. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance. I'm headed off to a charity event. I'm supporting the Alice Sanctuary in Alberta. Jan Arden invited me to come and help support that. And I want to give a shout out to horseshit.ca, another initiative I'm working with Jan on to stop the live transport of horses to Japan. There you go. I'm sorry. Oh, horses hit. I could have said it that way. Ugh. Okay, see you later, George. I'm off to Canada.
All right, good luck.
Calling at work.
Yeah, see you later. We'll see you next week. Bye.